All right. Well, it is another Monday, meaning one more edition of movies from the Unwatched shelf. This is week four. Booyah! Week four is here. That is the final week. I'm gonna silence my cell phone just in case someone tries to hit me up because I just realized I hadn't done it, so I'm gonna do it right now. So this is the final week. The Unwatched shelf is now empty. There's nothing left on that shelf. So this is it. This is the final live stream. Let's jump straight in to the first movie I watched last Monday after I was done live streaming. Actually, no, this was Tuesday. Tuesday was the first day I started getting back into this last week, and it was started with Buffalo 66, starring Vincent Gallo and Christina Ricci. This movie is about a man who just gets out of prison for a crime he did not commit. It goes into it later in the story that basically he made a large bet on the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl game. The Bills lost, and he was told he could either pay this massive debt or die, or he could do a job for the bookie who owed him, played by Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke is great in this movie. But basically, the thing he has to do for the bookie is to go into the police station and say he committed a crime that one of the bookie's friends has been arrested for. He serves his time. His debt is cleared. So that's what he does. He gets out of prison and he decides to go visit his parents. Now he's told his parents that he has been away working for the government and that he's gotten married and he's only in town for a short period of time. He ends up meeting Christina Ricci's character in a dance studio where he kidnaps her to pose as his wife. A relationship buds as the movie progresses, and our main character considers Vincent Gallo considers taking revenge on the kicker, and you meet his horrible parents who care more about Christina Ricci, who's just playing interested in him um, more than their own child, and it's an interesting movie. I'm glad I watched it. It's one if you've never seen Buffalo 66, first watch the trailer. That's the only reason I decided to watch this piece of film, is because back in the day of VHS, I had a VHS tape that I watched pretty regularly. I can't remember what movie it was, but it had the trailer for Buffalo 66 at the start of it. And I watched that trailer over and over again. So when I finally saw a copy of it sitting somewhere, I went, Buffalo 66, I've heard of this. It has a trailer that makes no sense. Because the trailer made no sense. It didn't. And I watched the movie, and I understand why the trailer made no sense now. Now I do. Now, 34-year-old Martin does. Uh, Young preteen Martin does not. He does not know why that was a thing. So that was Buffalo 66. Not bad. Not one I'd say I'd rewatch, but overall, not bad. All right, next up, I watched the movie Vulgar. This movie is by Brian Johnson. He is a friend of Kevin Smith. He's in most of the Kevin Smith View Askew-verse. This is one of View Askew's few films not written and directed by Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is a producer, and he acts in the film. The movie stars Brian O'Halloran, who is Dante in the Clerks movies. He plays a party clown who decides to increase his profits by simply starting to do bachelor parties as a gag on the groom. He'd put on his clown makeup and dress in lingerie and kind of spook the groom before the stripper shows up. On his first such outing, he's attacked by a group by a family of rednecky types of people and raped. And then he gets up the courage, saves a young girl from a gunman, becomes famous as a clown TV character a la Bozo, or Barney. They make a lot of Barney allusions in this movie. And then eventually, a tape that was made of things he was forced to say before he was raped comes. He's threatened that it'll come to light if he doesn't pay them off. It's a very hard movie to get through because of its context, because it is talking about rape. It is a movie about rape, even though this is male on male, which isn't the type you see that often. But that is what the movie is about. So it's very hard to get through. It's not bad. Um, it's not bad. So if you've never seen it before, it might be worth watching. Again, it's not one I'm going to rewatch. Again, I'm not disappointed I watched it. I'm not upset by watching it. Um, it's just one I know I don't need to watch again. All right, next up, I have A Hard Day's Night. This is the first theatrical film by the Beatles. I'd love to go over the plot of this movie, but it does not have a lot of plot to go over. Basically, it is just a day in the life of the Beatles. They start off running away from fans, getting on a train to go to a studio to film a live TV show. Later that night, they get to the studio. They're at a hotel room. They get to the studio and they begin to prepare for it. They have a lot of rehearsals. It's a lot of ways to get them more of their music into this movie. It's not bad. The main plot of this movie is Paul's grandfather is with them and he causes trouble. It's an interesting movie. I liked it. Again, I get why people love A Hard Day's Night. I get it. I understand it. I enjoyed it. There was some really funny moments. I think all four Beatles can act. They do a good job. With what they're given, which is basically playing themselves, but they do a good job of it. And they really seem like a group of four friends who are just hanging out and playing music, and they just happen to get popular for it. I recommend it if you've never seen A Hard Day's Night. Check it out. If you're a Beatles fan, definitely. It's got tons of great Beatles music. I mean, obviously, it's got A Hard Day's Night in it because, it's the title of the movie. But there's some other great Beatles songs in it. All right, next up, I have the movie Syrup. This is kind of a lowish budget film. I'm trying to soften my light, but I'm not sure if I'm pressing. I might be pressing the wrong button. I was pressing the wrong button. That was my problem. I definitely was pressing the wrong button. Syrup is about a man who comes up with an idea for a new beverage. Basically, it's not so much about the beverage as it is the ad campaign about the beverage. He calls the drink Fuck, F-U-K-K, and it comes in an all black can. He takes it to a drink company. They love it. He needs to patent it so he can sell it, and he finds out his roommate has already patented it and is now taking the money for this guy's idea. He's eventually brought into the ad company to help create an ad for the drink after the fact, where he creates a drink that turns out to be a giant, like, it ends up being a setup. It's about vending machines falling on people. I'm a huge Community fan, so when I heard them use this term that it happens 12 times a year, that people are crushed by vending machines, I popped for that one. I like, oh, that's because that's a huge thing in the fifth season of Community. Towards the end of the show, that happens. They make a huge thing out of it. So I enjoyed that. He makes an ad out of it. Eventually, they say somebody copied the ad and was crushed by a vending machine. And they have to go work for another company, and it's about this tension between your main character, who goes by the name Scat because he thinks it's cool, and his love interest, who goes by the name Six because it sounds like sex. And it's about how much marketing do we do of ourselves as well as with products. It's not bad. This is one I could see myself watching again, and I'm holding on to it because I do kind of want to watch it again just to see it with knowing everything that happens. It's not one of those movies you have to do. It's not like Jacob's Ladder, where a rewatch knowing what's going on is going to improve it. It's just kind of a stupid, yeah, it's on. It's worth watching. Next up, we have Home Sweet Hell, starring Katherine Heigl, Patrick Wilson, Jordana Brewster, Jim Belushi, Chi McBride's in it. This was actually pretty good. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie. Basically, Patrick Wilson and Katherine Heigl are a married couple. They have two kids. Katherine Heigl is very OCD with everything in their lives, scheduling when they have sex, scheduling every little aspect of their lives, including like she's going to give her husband a congratulations hand job about a good day of business he had at his furniture store, and she has to use the line, "I put it on the calendar," because the only way anything can happen is if it's on the calendar. Patrick Wilson obviously turns to one of his employees to satisfy his needs and begins to have an affair when the woman says she is pregnant. He confesses to his wife that he's done it and that and she wants money to go away. Katherine Heigl then proposes that they should just kill her. So they kill her, and there's just some great scenes of like how happy she gets murdering this woman and dismembering her body. It's just a lot of fun, and just Patrick Wilson's like it's very good at acting like that stressed out husband role. He's great at it. It's a fun movie. I really, really love this movie. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it, how much it drew me in. This is a highly recommend. It's a weird, dark comedy. It's not super gory, but it's a weird, dark comedy that is a lot of fun. And so if you've never seen Home Sweet Hell, give it a try. You might find out that you really enjoy it. All right, next up I have the original Magnificent Seven, starring Steve McQueen, Yul Brynner, Charles Bronson, Eli Walsh, who we'll talk about more later. This is the original story based on the movie Seven Samurai, which I also have, and of course was remade with Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hunt, Ethan Hawke, Ethan Hawke, which I also own. I love this story, and really enjoyed this movie as well. This was a really great movie, to the point that I knew the beats of this movie, like because I've seen Seven Samurai, I've seen the remake, and they both kind of follow the same beat structure as far as what happens. In this one, they kind of switch the beat at the end, which I really liked. I really liked that they tried something different, and it worked very nicely. I thought the chemistry between the seven was really good, and you really felt something when they start dying towards the end of the movie. You really do feel something because they built each one just enough. Because it's only a 2-hour movie, so there's a lot of like seven guys plus the plot to build in 2 hours. You get little snippets of people. You don't get the full person. Um, but they did it very well. They built these guys very nicely, and it was a lot of fun to watch. I really liked the Magnificent Seven. It was definitely the best Western I have watched out of all of this, and I got two more coming up. And obviously, I did a Fistful of Dollars last week. This was my favorite Western out of all of them. So definitely, if you've never seen the original Magnificent Seven, check it out. Also, check out Seven Samurai if you got 3.5 hours and don't mind subtitles, or the remake of the Magnificent Seven. All are really good movies. All right, next up we have Rubber. I'm not going to get too deep into this one. I'm going to say I liked it. I enjoyed this movie because after watching it, I kind of want to give it its own episode during one of my Wednesday episodes, sometime over the next month or so. I'm going to give this one its own episode. So come back to Rank the Movies. Check this YouTube channel at some point between now and the end of March. And I'm actually going to do a full review of Rubber where I'm just focusing on this movie because it was weirdly enjoyable. I really liked it. It's definitely worth watching. But come back and you'll hear me talk more about it then. I'm just not, because if I start now, I'm just gonna get into it, and then there's pointless for me to do the review later on. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Definitely check it out. I'll give you this. It's about a sentient tire that has psychic powers. What more do you need to know? All right, next up I have the movie Bad Milo. This one stars Ken Marino. I butchered his name. Jillian Jacobs, Peter Skarsgård. I'm butchering his name, but that one I knew the minute I went. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna butcher it. I'm gonna butcher it so. Basically, Ken is a guy is a married man, married to Jillian Jacobs. He suffers from a lot of stress in his life. He goes to see the doctors. They say he has a polyp in his intestinal tracts. He goes to work, finds out he is now being put in charge of layoffs at his company by his boss, played by Patrick Warburton, great actor. To continue the community connections that I've already started with Syrup and the vending machine, and of course Jillian Jacobs, who plays Britta on Community, he gets put into a bathroom that's been turned into an office, but still has the bathroom stuff. And his roommate is played, I can't remember the actor's name, but he plays Garrett on Community. Eventually, one night, the stress overtakes Ken's character, and he passes out on the toilet, and a little monster comes out of his butt. And it goes and it kills, I was going to say the community character, damn, it kills Garrett. He then goes to see a psychiatrist who tells him that it is a monster due to stress. That basically this thing is the manifestation of his stress. It is part of him. If he tries to kill it, it's basically like giving yourself a lobotomy, and it needs to connect with it. Once he can connect with it, it will stop murdering people. But until then, it continues to murder people. Some without the knowledge of the main character. Some he actually sicks the little butt monster on him, on Patrick Warburton to kill him. It's a really entertaining movie. Like, it's very well done. I was really surprised because I bought a copy off of Amazon, and I went to a used store like the day before I got it in the mail, and they had two copies sitting there. And I'm like, why? Like, is this movie that like bad that people have bought it and sold it? Like, like it had only been like 2, 3 weeks since the last time I was in there, so they got two copies of this movie in that very short period of time. And then I watched it. I'm like, this is really good. This is really entertaining. I mean, it's as good as a movie about a stressed butt monster can be. I'm just saying, it's fun. Check it out. Bad Milo. It is definitely worth the time. All right, next up we have Heat. This is Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, Danny Trejo, and a ton of other people. This is the Michael Mann film. It is about 3 hours long, and man, it's good. I really enjoyed Heat. I thought everyone did such a great job in this movie, and they're such great characters. Basically, you have a group of thieves who are being chased by the cops, and the main cop is Al Pacino. Your main thief is Robert De Niro, and his second in command is Val Kilmer. I mean, that's what the movie really is. It is about, you know, it's about these guys' lives, really, as they're being, as the criminals are living their lives and the cops are going through their day to days. Because there are so many subplots in this movie. There's a subplot, literally one member of the heist for the final heist of the movie, which still leaves like 45 minutes to an hour left in the film once you get to it. But the final heist in the movie, one of the members is being tailed by cops, so he can't be a part of it. Um, there's literally an entire sub story setting up the guy they get to replace him, who does more in this movie before he says yes to being part of this job than he does after the fact. Literally, he says yes, and then you get some random shots of him driving a car and then dying. But they gave him like 15 minutes of like scenes before this to set up his character. So you understand why he says yes. It's so well done. Like I said, it is 3 hours, but it moves very, very well. I highly recommend it. Between the two movies I watched that were 3 hours this weekend, just over the last couple of days, because this is Saturday. I'm at what I was watching on Saturday already. This was the better of the two. I enjoyed this 3 hours more than the 3 hours I'll get to in a few minutes. All right. Next up, I have For a Few Dollars More. This is the second in the Sergio Leone, Clint Eastwood Dollars trilogy. I talked about A Fistful of Dollars last week. I enjoyed it. I don't see the need to watch it again, but I enjoyed it. For a few dollars more, I really liked this movie. Again, I'm probably not going to watch it again, but as far as like my enjoyment level, I really enjoyed this one. Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, they do great jobs in this movie as Manco and Colonel Mortimer. They're the two main characters of this movie. They do such a good job throughout it, and they're so interesting, and they're such interesting characters and interesting actors. It kind of makes me want to go watch more Lee Van Cleef westerns because he was so good in this movie. I know him from Escape from New York, and he's really good in that too. Anyways, the basic plot of the movie is Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef are both bounty hunters, and they are teaming up to go after a single recently escaped convict and his gang. It's a very interesting movie, which gets very clever in how they like because it's about 2.5 hours. How they like allow the movie to extend beyond where you think it should end. Like you think, oh, this is going to be the final shootout, and then it does something really clever that goes, oh no, this isn't. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So it's really interesting. It's a really clever film. If you like A Fistful of Dollars and you for some reason have never seen For a Few Dollars More, definitely check it out. This I'm gonna say it right now, and I haven't gotten to it yet. This is my favorite of the Dollars trilogy. I really liked For a Few Dollars More. I thought it was such a good movie. That brings us to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This is the third installment of the Dollars trilogy, starring Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef. He is playing a different character this time. He is not playing Colonel Mortimer, and Eli Wallace, who's also in the Magnificent Seven as the villain. This is a very critically acclaimed movie. People love this movie. I don't. It was so and it dragged. The only interesting character, like Lee Van Cleef and Clint Eastwood gave great performances. They did not have a lot to do in this movie, but gave great performances. Eli Wallace stole the show with his characterization and his he those guys were playing this movie straight, and he was like, screw it, I'm gonna come up here where I'm gonna be a little more outlandish than the rest of them, than these other two guys. He stole every scene he was in, and he is kind of the focus of this movie. As much as Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef are the ones who are really building this movie, neither of them are really the main character. Um, but no, where the first two parts of this trilogy are westerns straight up. This is when Sergio Leone started making epics. Like he wanted to be an epic film director with like the sprawling landscape and the never-ending plot. Because the plot of this movie is literally three guys trying to get to a cemetery and find gold. That's the plot of this movie. It takes them 3 hours. The plot is introduced in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and it then takes them 2 hours and 45 minutes to resolve the plot. They did not need that much time. They did not need a scene where Clint Eastwood and Eli Wallace meet up with a Union army and help and blow up a bridge. They were not asked to blow up the bridge. They just decide to blow up the bridge to make the Union and the Confederate armies leave the area so they can cross the river. This scene is like 20 minutes of this movie. It was not needed. Like when it finally got to the end and they were in the graveyard and it's the final and it's the Mexican standoff between the three characters, then my interest was piqued. I regained interest in this movie, and I get it. I get why so many directors go, man, I want to make a movie like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's got some great cinematography on it. It's beautifully made. It is not a great movie. I'm gonna say it. It's not a great movie. For a few dollars more, it is so much better, so much more entertaining and interesting than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But that's my take on it. All right, next up I have Nightcrawler. This movie stars Jake Gyllenhaal as a Nightcrawler. He basically takes photos of crime scenes and sells them to. I hate this movie. I don't even want to go over what it's about. I hate this movie. Um, you don't like the main character. The main character is doing criminal things. He is getting to crime scenes before the police have arrived and moving stuff. He's legitimately interfering with crime scenes. And he has no comeuppance at the end. There is no comeuppance for this character. He does horrible things and nothing bad happens to him. But the problem is, and I've seen movies where people have done horrible things and nothing bad happens to them, but I like those characters. Generally, there's something about that character that I like. I don't like this character. I at no point like this character. I want something bad to happen to him because I don't like him and he's doing actions I don't agree with. But at the end of the movie, he gets away with it. He gets away with everything and expands his business. It's it's not a great movie. I'm not a fan of it. I highly unrecommend this movie. Um, as much as I gave crap to Double Team and I gave crap to Gemini Man, I might those movies might be worse as far as movies go, but this one just everything about it. I really did not care for this movie. Do not watch Nightcrawler. It's not worth it. It's not worth the 2 hours of your life. Plus, it's very slow. So, I mean, I just got done watching Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, so that's probably not great either that I watched a long, sprawly 3-hour movie and then I went to a long, sprawly 2-hour movie. So yeah, that probably didn't help either, but I did not care for Nightcrawler. Do not recommend. All right, the final movie for my unwatched shelf that I watched this week, and therefore the final movie overall, is Superman, Man of Tomorrow. This is one of the new DC animated movies. It just came out this year. Basically, it is the early days of Superman. Not so much him living in Smallville, but his early days in Metropolis. In fact, he starts off, he's not even wearing the Superman outfit because he hasn't gotten it yet. I enjoyed this movie. It features one of my favorite DC characters in Lobo, who is a space bounty hunter who shows up to get Superman. The main villain of the movie is the Parasite, which I like. I found it weird, though. By the end of the movie, he looks like he's Godzilla from the 1998 movie, except purple. So that was weird. That was weird. But it's a really enjoyable film. It's very well done for kind of setting up who Superman is and like how he got noticed and how he decided to tell people of his alien origin and everything else. That is part of him. I liked this movie. If you like the DC animated movies or Superman movies, definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it before. All right, well, that is actually the end of the movies I've watched from my unwatched shelf. And since this is the last episode of this for this time being, I've decided to do one thing. I'm not going to rank all 47 movies I watched. However, in honor of me finally watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I've decided to end this video with the good, the bad, and the average. I've broken this list into those three categories, as evenly dispersed as I can be with the number of movies I watched. I was one shy of having a perfect, even distribution. So I'm going to start with the bad. So it's going to be a big graphic up here, and it's going to cover my face, but I'm going to talk, and you can just look at the graphic. All right. The bad. So this is in no particular order, but what made the bad was the Banana Splits movie, Drinking Buddies, Filth, Sudden Impact, the worst of the Dirty Harry series, Double Team, Duel, We Summon the Darkness, which is the closest on this list to have made the average, Star Crash, I give it a year, sorry, Shuck and Shaw Women's Prison Massacre, The Abyss, Gemini Man, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Nightcrawler, and Strange Brew. These are just my least favorite out of everything I watched. If I was going to pick an absolute least favorite, it's hard. It's hard because a lot of these movies, like Banana Splits and Drinking Buddies, were awful movies. As is Double Team, The Abyss, Gemini Man, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I absolutely despise Nightcrawler. The rest of them are bad, but I mean they're just not as good as they could be. And like I said, We Summon the Darkness, because I was doing an even split, or as even as I could, that one ended up in the bad, but it almost made the average, because that wasn't an awful, awful movie. It wasn't, I don't regret watching it. It was pretty entertaining. All right, so now we move on to the average, where we find The Man from U.N.C.L.E. adaptation, 28 weeks later, The Enforcer, Guns, Girls, and Gambling, Philadelphia, Space Cowboys, A Fistful of Dollars, Lost in Space, The Legend of Billie Jean, Buffalo 66, Vulgar, A Hard Day's Night, Syrup, A Fist for a Few Dollars More, and Superman, Man of Tomorrow. These are some, they're not bad movies. Any of these movies are worth watching on this list. I would say some might be better than others. There isn't one that makes me go, oh, this almost made it on the good list. I was pretty happy with the average in where I put them. For a few dollars more, almost did, but I think it's just a lot to do with how I felt about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and how hyped The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly has been in my life, that I almost moved for a few dollars more into the good. Like I said, there's another Dirty Harry film here with The Enforcer. And honestly, this week I watched a lot of pretty decent movies. Given the fact that 6 out of the 16 on this list came from this week. All right, that leaves only the good. These are the movies I really enjoyed. The ones I would highly recommend if you've never seen them before, definitely check them out. And for that, we have The Collection, The Collector and the Collection, Dirty Harry, 28 Days Later, Magnum Force, The Deadpool, Kung Pao, Enter the Fist, Jacob's Ladder, Don't Breathe, The Majestic, The Rules of Attraction, Home Sweet Hell, The Magnificent Seven, Rubber, Bad Milo, and Heat. Again, I really liked all of these movies. These are definitely movies I will watch again. Um, they were a lot of fun and they were just very interesting. They offered something I really liked in them, and there's very enjoyable movies. So there you go. There is my the good, the bad, and the average for what I've been doing here for my unwatched shelf. The 47 movies I have watched since January 1. With that, that ends these live streams. There will not be one next week, as I don't think I'm gonna have any more movies coming in by then. I don't know. I might, but it's like gonna be like 2 or 3 at the most. Depends on what I decide to do with the rest of my week, and if I decide to go out and look at movies and see if I'm gonna buy anything. So I'm not gonna do this again next week. Don't forget, this Wednesday is the final episode in my Rumble series, Rumble 2001, starting in February. So that's next Wednesday. I'll be talking about my favorite movies I watched in 2020. Not necessarily in theaters, just overall. I'm going to break that up over a couple of weeks. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed these live streams. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Comment if you got something you want to say about one of these movies. Maybe I'm totally wrong on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or Nightcrawler, or any of the other movies I shat on. Tell me in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you later. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great week. And remember, encouraging words are encouraging. All right, I'm